guys, today we are at Alliance RV in Elkhart, Indiana, and we are getting a behind-the-scenes tour of a couple of their plant facilities. We're going to see what lamination.
Yep.
So how
plant one.
Yeah, plant one, where they build what paradigms and Valors and stuff. Yep. Kind of see like every stage of the RV process being built. And they're going to tell us a little bit more about just like the whole production process. So we're super excited. We're actually here 1 week early for when they're going to build our avenue.
Yes.
So we were hoping it would time right and we would get to actually see ours, but we did get to see the chassis. So we will have some footage of that when we got to see that earlier this week. But we'll at least get to see like where, you know, where it's all been put together.
Why don't you guys head inside and take a look?
Let's go.
Let's go. You recording?
Yeah. Ice in my veins. Today we're actually getting a tour of the lamination plant. So we're here with a couple of guests from Alliance.
Yeah, so this is Ab and Drew. Ab is the general manager for Alliance. We've had him in videos. And this is Drew. He is the lamination manager for Alliance RV. So we wanted to show you guys something a little bit different. We know you can find plenty of videos about factory tours and everything, but lamination sidewalls is a little bit different, and I think Alliance builds one of the best, so we figured we'd show you something a little bit different. So we'll let you take it away. I think we're going to kind of follow the process of how it's assembled, right?
Yeah,
and then,
no, absolutely. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start in the weld department. That's where the whole thing starts.
And just real quick, this is pretty cool. We're excited. This is going to be instrumental to our growth here at Alliance RV. How long has this building been up now? 5 months, 6 months?
Been operational since July 12th.
Okay, so that's pretty exciting. And I think we have 120,000 square feet here, so a lot of room to grow.
Oh, yeah.
You were a huge part in obviously the design of this layout, and a little bit on your background too. I know you've been in lamination for a while, so I think it's important to kind of talk about that.
So I've been in lamination for 18 years now. I started out at one of the #1 RV manufacturers back in 2003. Learned a lot. I ended up moving on to different things and went to a company that does a different kind of process than what we have here. It's called a vacuum bonded process. And then I went on to Grand Design. And I was at Grand Design for almost 5 years. I helped start up their lamination with a bunch of great people as well. And then I moved on, and now I'm here. So this is the beginning of the process. This is the weld shop. We've got our chop saws here. All of our raw material is stored inside, close to the point of use. It comes on from the bundles, racks, onto carts, and then onto the chop saw. Our saw operators use a blueprint directly from the engineers, right off the engineer cut list. That way everything's cut precisely to print exactly what the engineer drawing calls for. And then it's staged on a cart and stuffed with filler wood. So once all the material is cut and put on the cart and stuffed with the filler wood for securement from screws, the next day the weld shop, which is here, they will take all of that cut material to the engineering blueprint, pull whatever fixture, which you can see the fixtures are over here inside the racks. They'll pull whatever fixture that the schedule calls for, and they will load the material and inspect the material as they're loading it onto the fixture to make sure that there's no dents, imperfections, stuff like that. Any kind of dent or imperfection in aluminum can cause a problem as far as cosmetics or potentially structural in the long run.
So this is where they're laying it out to start welding.
This is where they lay their fixture on a flat surface. This table is 100% square, and you'll notice if you look down the table, you can actually see flat. They're 3/8 flat steel plates. So we do things a little bit different than some companies. We do a door side and an off door side table. And the reason why is because the 0 points are on opposite sides of the wall when you lay them on the same table. So we do them on a different table so we can always have a square point to start from when we build our walls. So this obviously is the square point for the bottom of the wall, which is one of our 0 points. Then we also have flat plates here in the back, which is a 0 point in the rear of the wall. We line it up we will run our tape measures and square all the openings like slide outs, windows, doorways, and then we will clamp the jig down as we are welding our walls. That way the fixture stays in a perfect place and doesn't move. And then as we're going down our wall, we'll weld it, and we know that that wall is right on the money square to the engineering blueprint.
That's very cool. And so is this one here a door side right now?
No, this one here is an off door side.
Okay.
And you can see where all of the paint marks are at on the wall. That's where it calls for filler wood, which is there for securement and to help with the structural integrity of the wall in key areas. Now we do the same process no matter in the weld shop, no matter if it's a sidewall or your slide out end walls, your slide out ceilings, your main floors. It doesn't matter. We do the same process. That way everything is exactly the same. Consistency breeds quality, and we're all about quality. So after the weld shop, then it moves over to the foam department. Now in the foam department, we we do the same process at the beginning as we do in the weld shop. We will take our wall, we will lay it down onto the foam table, which, as you can tell, it's actually got flat plates on it as well, same as the weld shop, because we zero the walls out every step of the process, no matter what. Once they lay it down, we actually apply the EPS foam, which is it's got kind of a dual purpose. It acts as an insulation for the wall, but it also is a good, it promotes adhesion. The glue bonds best the EPS foam over anything. So we'll lay the wall down. As you see, we've got our engineering drawings. Everything is built exactly to print, to the engineering's blueprint. That way that when it goes to the production line, we know that they're gonna get everything in the right spot. It's got a perfect placement and fit.
Now, is this type of insulation different than what you would see in other manufacturers, or is that pretty like common industry standard?
Using EPS foam is common in the industry. Now, some people don't look this deeply, but there's a difference that some manufacturers or OEMs will use wire cut foam.
Okay.
We chose to use sanded foam. Your quality tolerance is a lot tighter with sanded foam because it actually goes on a sander and it brings it to spec. We have our foam is a 32nd thicker than our aluminum frame. And I'll explain why in lamination.
Okay.
But that sander helps keep everything nice and even. Wire cut, you get ridges, which tends to be inconsistent on thicknesses, and you'll actually end up seeing that in your end result as far as the wall goes.
Okay, cool.
So we'll lay our wall down. We'll apply the EPS foam. We'll also apply the thin metal strips there. Those are called EGS backers or galvanized steel backers. Those are, they act as your studs in your walls for like your cabinetry and stuff. So instead of being aluminum or wood, they're thinner, they're lighter weight, and they have just the same kind of tensile strength.
Nice.
After we are done foaming the wall, and this is an area where we do things that are a little bit different, we'll actually load the wall up on this cart here, and then we'll use what's called Allodyne. It's a water-soluble cleaner that actually goes through and it cleans off all of the oil and particulates that could interfere with the bonding process.
Okay.
And we also blow the wall off for any kind of foam debris and stuff like that, because you see some of this dark will hold it. So after the foam department, we will then move into lamination. Now you'll notice that there's a curtain here. Lamination is the absolute most crucial area to be temperature controlled. It's got to be quarantined. It's got to be right temperature, right humidity. It's got to dust free. So we put a curtain up. That way it's easy for the guys to maneuver, but it also acts as a wall. So like I said, this is lamination, and actually you can, if you look, I don't know if you can see it or not, our Mister system.
Yeah.
Our Mister system is going right now, and what that does is it promotes the humidity into the atmosphere, because you want to have at a 40% relative humidity. That's what the chemists at our glue companies say. This is the parameters that you need to run to have your optimal end result as far as the best quality. So we do exactly what they say, keep it at exactly those levels. We have sensors and stuff in strategic places around this room. That way that we get each area and corner in this little area to be exactly what it's supposed to be at. So you can see the walls here staged for lamination. That's got the EPS foam in it, so you can see that the day before they stuffed those walls with the foam. So we load all of our walls up on the roof line coming from the foam department. There's a couple of reasons why we do that. One is it's easier to keep them square, right? the roof line, as you can tell, is flat. So if they were up on the other way, they'd be sitting on the cargo, but you see how it drops down to 12.5 inches? Well, if you got 12.5 inches of reverse pressure on your slide out openings, that's what causes things to get out of, square. So we put it on a flat surface, that way that it's got the best chances of, coming out exactly what it should be. So here in lamination, we apply our, we'll have our FRP, so our fiberglass product is what you'll see on the outside of the coach. We apply our composite substrate, Asdale. For those that don't know, Asdale is a fiberglass polypropylene product. Asdale is I've been doing it for 18 years, hands down superior, far superior above anything else I've used. And the reason why is, so it's water resistant, right? It does not absorb moisture. So it will, if it gets wet or somehow there's intrusion, it'll actually let the water run right through the board, and it won't actually soak in and then cause rot, mold, and stuff like that. Something that, I don't know, maybe it's just important to me, but that other people don't realize is that Asdale, because of the fact that it's made from fiberglass and a similar product to what the rolled fiberglass is, they actually work in unison. So companies that use Luan, they put it to fiberglass at different temperature changes and stuff like that. The Luan and fiberglass move at different temperatures, so they're fighting against each other constantly. Asdale and the fiberglass, they move in unison. So that way that you don't have that constant pressure and force pulling away from each other, and you're less likely to have a delamination. So here, this is an air hockey table.
That's what it looks like.
I know every time I see it, I want to get one of those little pucks.
Right.
I mean, you'd have a real long air hockey game right here.
This table does multiple different things for us. Now, like I said, we are very consistent. We do the same thing in every areas for the optimal quality. You'll notice on the other side of the table, you have the flat plate, just like every other table. We have a 5/8 thick flat steel plate at the other end of the table. Like I said, we do a door side, off door side to make sure that we're squaring everything up. That way that we can pull it to the 5/8 steel that's so thick, so that way we don't have deflection, so it doesn't move. And then we pull it down to the plate here and make sure that everything is perfectly square before we finish laminating the wall. Now, also the air hockey table, it lifts, right? We turn on the air lifts the wall, and it lifts it up so high actually that it glides above the table. That way you can help prevent scratches. We're very disciplined here. Everybody cares, man, and I love my team. That's the biggest thing, that it's hard to find, and somehow we got lucky to have just a plant and company full of amazing people. But we have what's called Turtle Wax Tuesday and Thursday. So because of the fact that there's going to be, different stress points in the glass, or, it might, bend a little bit here or there, and it might drag slightly on the table, we wax it. That way it still glides over the surface, doesn't get hung up.
You wax the whole table?
The whole table.
Wow.
So we actually have the little thing of turtle wax, and we wax the table, and then they go through with a buffer, and they buff the entire table every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork.
Wow.
Yep. So once they apply the Asdale, they'll then, a couple guys will lift the wall, a couple guys will catch it, they'll set it down on the jigs, square up the wall, and then we'll put our Asdale decor interior wallboard paneling on it. They'll make sure that everything is nice and smooth and everything's where it should be. And then it'll go through this machine that we call a pinch roller. It's a nip roller. It applies downward force that helps marry the Asdale fiberglass and Asdale to the aluminum structure. It makes them all as one. Some people use, like I said, what's called a vacuum bonded process. We do a nip roller process, or what people call a Western style wall. I prefer the Western style wall or nip roller process over a vacuum bonded process. And the reason being is this is a lot more controlled, right? You're able to, your parameters are a lot easier controlled. The vacuum bonded processes use hydraulic or gear driven machines as well. And in order to clean their surface, right? Because you have to have a nice smooth surface for your, while you're in there, because any kind of imperfection on that surface is gonna then transfer to your part. So if you've got a glue buildup on the surface of the bag, it then will cause a dent in your glass or your wall, which in turn causes bodywork. If you've got, let's say, any kind of flat spot or a like a divot in your tabletop, that will actually push in, and it'll cause another dent. Yeah. So you have to have it perfectly even, perfectly smooth. but to get people in there, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and safety is absolutely number one. Always will be. Getting people inside the vacuum bonded process. I mean, there's people that have lost their lives to it. So, but this is, like I said, a more controlled process. It's a cleaner process. It's a safer process. So as you can see, we got like the safety ripcords here. It's checked every day. It's just different. I prefer this process for a number of reasons, but we're able to, we zero out this pinch roller every day before we get going. That way that we know that we've got perfectly even downward force all across. Because if you have a tighter pinch here and than you do on the other side, well then it's gonna cause you to have a D-lam, or it's gonna cause you to see tube telegraphing, because you're getting too much downward force.
Okay.
Now we work with the chemists and engineers and stuff at our suppliers like Asdale and our glue company to make sure that we've got the proper downward force, we've got the proper amount of air pressure, and the proper amount of gap settings to whatever our walls are. And that's the reason why, in my opinion, and we've got the best looking walls out there, because we are so controlled and so disciplined in what we do, and we're not too afraid to say, hey, Asdale or HP Fuller, come help us. Show us what's the best way to run this part. Because at the end of the day, quality, man.
And I love that you're actually like working with those suppliers and not just kind of taking the product and just trying to roll with it the best you can. You're actually like collaborating with them.
Absolutely. It's a partnership, right? Yeah. We're a team. At the end of the day, we want to build a great quality product and send it out to our end consumer, and I want to be able to be like, hey, that's what we did, and be proud of it.
Yeah, that's great.
So after the wall comes out of the pinch roller, we have what's called a cure table, and it literally does exactly what it sounds like. This cure table here is getting ready to be redecked. It's just a flat surface, perfectly flat, smooth. It actually is lifted up by hydraulic lifts that lift it perfectly even, because like I said, you don't want any of those flexing spots or any kind of low point. And then the walls will sit here for at least 18 hours in cure. That way that the initial part of the bonding process is 100% complete.
Wow, okay.
So, and then after this stage of the process, it moves down to our routing department, whether, wow.
This is a big facility you got going on here.
Yeah, it's, okay, so before I leave this area right here, I'm really glad you said something. So a lot of companies that I've been at, when we're growing, we start off with a little box, right? And then we are busting at the seams, we outgrow that little box, and it's 6 months after or a year after that point that we finally get a bigger box. And then we outgrow that one. So Ryan and Coley, they decided, you know what, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Let's do it so we can grow into it, not have to be, be proactive, not reactive, right? And that's what we say. 95% proactive, 5% reactive, right? It's the best way to run. Now, part of that proactive is we've actually got 2 ACs in this room, because like I said, it needs to be climate controlled. We've got 2 ACs on opposite sides of the room. That way in the summertime, Indiana, we can get up to 90, 100 degrees, super humid. This actually keeps it cold, cooler, down to the 72 degree mark. That's where you want to be at. It also, obviously, AC, it helps fight the humidity in the air, so it keeps that controlled. We have a thermocycler in this area that in the wintertime keeps it at 72 degrees. I've never been a part of a company ever that has been willing to, right at the beginning, do it right the first time. I've never seen that so early. There's some companies that do it after the fact, but man, when you're open for 5 years or so, and then you decide to do those kind of things, how many units have you built before?
At that quality level.
Exactly right. So this is the routing department. So obviously we've got a curtain that protects the lamination from the routing department. So we've got double coverage, protecting from all the particulates.
We don't want these guys.
Close the curtain on Ryan?
Well, I'm glad everybody got to see me once. Okay, so in the routing department, we do the interior overhangs as far as decor panel, exterior overhangs as far as the fiberglass. What those overhangs are intended for is to create a better sealment, right, and better fitment when it gets over to the assembly line. And like I said, we do everything off of the engineering blueprint. So they come into stations. These are the cure tables. Once they're full, like I was talking about before, everything is nice and flat, everything is even. We let it sit, like I said, 18 hours, or in this case, it'll sit for a little bit longer before we ever touch it, before it's ever flexed. Don't want to put any kind of pressure on that glue bond before that green straight had a chance to grab a hold and do what it's supposed to do. And that's another area where we differ. Some places they would route as soon as it comes out of the pinch roll,
Wow.
which, I mean, the glue's still tacky, so you're putting force against that glue bond, and later
break.
down the road, yeah, you're just rolling the dice, and it's not worth rolling the dice on.
Yeah.
So they'll route the window openings, the cargo openings, the doorways and stuff like that. Every area we check the squareness of the slide outs and openings and stuff to make sure they're right. And we do the same thing in this area. Then they are, after they're done routed, they are then loaded onto a cart, and they're labeled and they're strapped and they're delivered to the assembly line.
Nice.
So that is lamination at Alliance.
So Drew, tell me, what's the timeline to get a wall from beginning to end stage of lamination?
It is 5 days to go from the very beginning to the end.
Okay.
So yeah, on the schedule, unit number 1 starts here. 5 days later, it's in the routing department. The green strength on the glue, the glue's not cured for 72 hours,
Okay.
100%. So it actually doesn't even get flexed or touched again. And for 2 additional days before it goes over to the assembly line, that way it's 100%
Wow.
done before.
So you guys are probably like dragging out that timeline a little bit just to ensure that glue isn't being.
Oh, it's very
messy.
intentional.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
intentional.
yeah.
I said, do the right thing. Right?
Yep.
Ain't just words. You got to
Yeah.
do it. And to be different, you got to be different.
Well, thank you so much for giving us a tour of the lamination facility. It was very neat to
Yeah,
see that
absolutely.
process.
Thanks for coming.
And I think we're going to go check out another plant on the Alliance property here.
So really quick, I just wanted to show this sidewall. This sidewall is really cool because this is a run of 32 RLSs, which is what we're getting.
Yeah.
So one of these could be our slide wall since we're going online next week.
Yeah, it's so weird to see it in this stage too.
Yeah, you can see the cutout for the bedroom,
Yep.
all the cutouts for the storage and propane, and then where the cutout is for the
Where-
living room, or really the kitchen slide wall right there.
Yeah, very cool. We got to see it in person.
Yep.
All right, we are over at Plant 1, which is like the OG plant for Alliance, and they're building a lot of Valors and some paradigms out of this one. So we're here with Ben Randall. He's the plant manager, and he's going to give us a quick walkthrough of how they're building things in here.
Yep, so I'll start with our chassis. We got a fully enclosed steel cage underneath our freshwater tanks that allows us to add the full carrying capacity going down the road. We also reinforce our black and gray tanks with steel straps over the top. Again, keep it a little bit more durable going down the road. We tried on our water lines, you can see on the other side, we don't put any splices in the middle of our water lines in the chassis, so there's less likely to leak.
Okay.
So then after we set our floor down, we'll start to set our cabinets. Our cabinets are all made in-house over here in our cabinet shop. So all of our walls, cabinets, they're all made in-house right over here in our cabinet shop. So yeah, then this is where we start installing our cabinets and everything back here in our shelling department and finish up our plumbing before our sidewalls are all on. So we can easily get in there and run all of our wires where we need to go, all of our plumbing, all of our heat duct runs. It's all done before the sidewall's put on. That way it's easier for us to get to, and it's better for us to all work on.
A lot of people don't have the opportunity to do plant tours, and I tell you, I hear this a lot, and for you and me, it's crazy to hear, but people can't believe that we are starting on the inside and working our way out.
Well,
Right?
I've seen pictures,
They
and
assume the walls are
before I
up.
saw
Yeah,
pictures of how
Housing,
you guys build.
you put your exterior walls on first and your roof and everything. We kind of reverse
It,
that
actually,
works.
it makes a lot of sense how you do it, but yeah, people are surprised. It's not like a house. you
No.
know? Build it from
And the other thing is
inside
you work
out.
sideways. You
Yeah.
know, you don't work forward.
We can fit more stations down our production line
Yeah.
if we do it this way.
Yeah.
We push them sideways, which used to be old style elephant style,
Yeah.
Class A's and stuff. They drive them down, so it's kind of elephant style. We do it sideways so we can fit more stations in the same amount of area.
I would like to also mention, if you're serious about Alliance, also watch our factory tour. The factory is just as clean today as it was a year and a half ago when we did a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which just speaks a lot about you guys, the owners,
Yeah.
or in the employees. They take pride in
They do.
It's a factory. It's supposed to be filthy.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
We take pride in our cleanups at the end of the day, wrapping up hoses and stuff, and our natural daylight in here with the lights. You don't get that a lot of the factories around here. I'm just kind of
I just wanted to mention one quick thing too, that I think a lot of our Alliance followers and owners have come to recognize that anytime we retail sell a unit, we used to have our we have a sheet here on every pit box.
I'm sure there's some down there.
Are we still doing
oh,
that?
Yes.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
I wanted to make sure they
every
didn't
retail
think-
customer that pre-orders one, we put it right on the front here, and the employees, as it goes down
All
the
right,
line,
good.
they sign it.
Yeah, but-
So also, while we're building the unit, we put it on a hitch just like it is on your truck, because that's where you get most of your stress. So you
Right.
can see the got the same hitch plate and everything, and just like you would in your fifth wheel truck. That way you create some less stress. We know it's going to get stressed if hooked onto the truck,
Right.
so we put it on the exact same setup as it would be on your
That's
truck.
a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't think many people are doing that, man.
Yeah. So yeah, just going down this, then this started our scaffolding system. So we do everything on our roofs on our scaffold. So we don't have to work off ladders or anything. We do a whole scaffold system. They can easily get to everything up there. We carry our roofs out, set our roofs down. Then we go into our rough wire of our electrical area. So that's where we start finishing our electrical components.
Yeah.
Quality control team, which is 3 girls down the line here. Like whole encompassing plant one, probably about 180 employees.
180 employees. That's crazy.
In plant 1, obviously, what do you think we got in 2? 150?
Yeah, about 150.
Wow.
What do you think we got in lamination?
45 to 50.
Okay, and then obviously, you know,
So
corporate,
400 employees, 400 families depend on it.
Yeah.
That's crazy when you like
it is.
think about that next level stuff.
Yeah, that is
pretty
that's
awesome.
Just like today, we had our our veterans lunch in today. Then Brian and Coley and everybody, we came out, gave out shirts to all the veterans, and
That's awesome.
Lunch.
and I would say 80% of the people that that work out here, Brian and Coley know them by their first name.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They know them like it's kind of what we do. We built that family early on here when we were all up in our offices, all piled in together. We got to know
The
each
good
other
old
real well.
days.
Yeah. Got to know each other a little too close. But.
That's right.
So yeah, even the guys, like, they do everything offline to help with their install, so everything's already all hooked up here. We just got to make a few connections once we get into the unit.
I always say it's almost like Legos, right?
Yeah.
You got to have your bags out and ready.
Yep.
for the
So these
next
guys will
step.
just come and
Right.
grab something, hook it up real fast.
Yeah.
So after we get our electrical, they'll start hooking up all the components and everything.
Get on the avenue too.
Then we'll start doing our electrical test. So after everything's ran in here, we'll start to do our testing of our electrical. We obviously do our plumbing, back and plumbing, but then we'll start doing our electrical tests and everything. So this is our first test. We test our electrical systems, I think, 5 times. So we do a lot of different tests throughout the stationing line, and our PDI people and our shortage people do.
Yeah.
You want to go back, look at how we build our slide outs? A lot of people don't like to come back into here, but we'll go back.
No, I'd love to see that. It's weird to see them without the slide outs.
Yeah. So we build slide outs. Basically, it's almost the same way we build our units on the line. You can see the VIN numbers on the side. So we identify which units, we call them plug walls,
Okay.
that comes out of that same exact unit. So we make sure that this box goes in that same unit that these walls came out of.
Okay.
So you don't have any problems with discoloration. A lot of times there's plug walls everywhere, and they just grab it because it just goes to that model. We go to the exact unit, so we know
Okay.
that this wall came out of that unit, and so we make sure we put it right back in there from our lamination department.
Nice.
So that way there's no inconsistency of colors or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just basically start with our walls and build a little slide out, then we install them up the line.
Okay.
So it's the same process, just on a smaller
Fuller
function.
scale. Yeah.
So yeah, this is where we'll start our decking. They'll start doing the insulating the roof and everything, then they'll put our decking material down. They overlap the insulation, and the guy down here will finish it. We'll try to keep it one piece. Then we put our oil over top of it, then we'll set our caps. We use this fancy little machinery up here. It suction cups the front of the cap. The cap is made of glass, so any stress cracks you get, anytime you can move it around, you try to limit that.
Yeah.
We use that to put it on straight. A lot of times guys are kicking it on, lifting it by hand, and creating a lot of stress on it.
Yeah.
That's where you get a lot of your cracking down here and in your corners, because it is glass. It can't take the stress.
Yeah.
So we try to minimize the stress when we put on the cap. It goes straight on the. Then this is where we'll start putting our roofing material on. We keep it in rolls over there, and the guys will just grab it. After they glue the roof down, we'll grab it, then we'll squeegee it out. So this is where we'll finish the slide out department. That's where we started in the back. This is right where we route our slide outs out. Then they'll build the whole slide out. Then we'll pick them up and put them in right here. So we reinforce the bottom of our drawers with some of our off-wall,
Nice.
so it doesn't cost us anything. So that's where we can get our
Yeah.
pots and pans. So like they're not coming apart.
Yeah.
Like some of our competition, I guess.
Yeah.
What is that drawer rated for?
What is it? 80 pounds, I think.
90 pounds?
90 pounds.
20
Yeah.
pounds. Nice.
So
Dude.
yeah, we reinforce them just from material that we would normally throw away. So we just
Oh.
That was
Reuse.
created from a line worker.
created from a line worker. They just had the idea. I was like, hey, why don't we just do that? And that was one of our very first builds from the prototype units.
And do you have a lot of like line workers who come up with like ideas for how
Oh,
to
yeah.
be more efficient?
Well, a lot of times even on the Facebook, I would say 75% of them are on our Facebook page too. So they see the feedback too.
Okay.
Then they'll come in and talk about it in the I can hear them,
That's
when they're
awesome.
clocking in the morning, coming to work. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see this? So it may not be just, Curtis and Bill and the service guys seeing everything. Line workers are seeing it. We're already implementing that change. Yeah, the different color tapes helps us identify where the problems are on the line. So it really helps me out more, and along with our quality team, so we can trace it back to where the original problem happened at. So if it's not just some final where everything's kind of bottlenecked at, if we can catch it back further, it helps us out to identify the problem, figure out the solution, get with the guy that maybe caused the problem, and make it go away.
Yeah. Now we're starting to look more like a finished RV.
Yes,
this
is why this is our final finish area, where pretty much 95% of the unit's done right here.
Yeah.
So we just kind of do our final cleaning area, make sure the unit's as clean as we can before we ship it out to hopefully our PDI department. But right now with our current state, we ship it through our shortage team. We actually have a team that goes through it before our PDI to make sure everything's in the unit, just to help with the dealerships to make sure we don't ship anything missing.
Yeah, as you guys probably know, there's a lot of shortages going on in the industry right now.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you kind of have like an extra step to make sure.
Yeah,
that,
a lot of places around town is you load up the back of a pickup truck or whatever you're short, go out to a shipyard, throw it in out there, gets all dirty and nasty. Well, we don't. We bring it back into the building to make sure all that stuff's put in and retested. A lot of times, sometimes it might not get tested again. No, we test it again before it even goes through our PDI process. So we do test everything probably about 5 times.
Nice. That's awesome.
One thing I'd like to point out quickly, and maybe we've done this on our last tour, but I love talking about the Alliance RV.
Family value,
We put that every plan. Yeah, that's the big one for us, right? Do the right thing. It really sums everything up in one simple phrase. When it pertains to relentless improvement, there's no question that we can get better every day. Even 15 years from now, we can always do something to improve. Devoted to our relationships, that means our consumers, that means our colleagues, that means our dealers, our suppliers, you guys, anybody that we do business with, we're going to treat them like family. And then lastly, we're customer obsessed. We forget often that we're a company that leans on the end consumer for the feedback, and that feedback gets implemented into our products. They're the ones using this every day. It's the best feedback to make the best product possible.
Shout out to Bill Martin and their whole Facebook community.
Thank you for that.
If you guys haven't been on their Facebook group, what's it?
Alliance RV Group.
Alliance RV Group.
Yeah.
That will sum it up for you.
Our Bill Martin and Curtis Carlson, their team they're phenomenal. They've really opened our eyes to a lot of innovative and different approaches to building an RV because of all the consumers on there giving us that feedback. And lastly, our service team. I honestly would put our service team up against anybody. Those folks communicate better than anyone, and I think that's all we really ask for as customers.
Yeah.
Sometimes bad news is better than no news. Just speak to me, talk to me, communicate with me.
Yeah.
These are RVs, things happen, and we want to make sure we keep you camping, and we'll do whatever that takes. So.
Yeah, every RV has issues. It's how you guys respond to it that makes a difference.
Yeah, we know that in my team, we're great. If you add up all our years of service in the industry, as we have hundreds of years, we know we can't be perfect all the time, but we try the best we can. And I know our customer service team is second to none out there, and they will do the right thing. And that's what we live by on the production line, is doing the right thing. Even in the mornings, we stretch before we even get started. We do a 15-minute stretch.
I think it's great.
It's laughable even in our industry, but we do a 15-minute stretch just to get loosened up and limbered, and we call ourselves the industrial athletes here.
I love it.
We stretch out, and that's why our final finish area, they stretch out here in the morning. So what made me think about it is retail customers, they will receive one of these signed by the employees that worked on their unit. It travels with the unit as it goes online, so everybody signs it. That way it kind of gives ownership for our employees that, hey, this is going to a family, and they've spent their hard-earned money on it. They take care of it.
It makes it more than just like a product. They know who it's going to.
Yeah, these are our allies. This is part of our family, our allies, and our customers and our employees.
Yeah, and that's something you guys have been doing since day one, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is. Ben said it perfectly. It slows you down. It makes you think about what you're building here. You're not just building an RV. You're building someone's dream. Someone's worked hard. They've been saving up. They're excited for this opportunity, and we want to put our best foot forward for them.
Well, Ab, thank you so much for having us out here today, showing us all the different things.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Welcome to the family. I'm so excited. It's an honor that you chose us. It means the world, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
We're excited to start camping in our new avenue.
Awesome.